Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another massive update. And it is going to be a devastating week in Salem, specifically the week of July 13 to July 17, because we are finally getting the truth about Lexie Carver. And the truth is ugly. So ugly. We all knew this resurrection was too good to be true, but now it is official. Lexie is dying again, and the way this is all going to play out is just raw and unfiltered tragedy. So let's just dump all the facts right here. Lexie is going to confess her impending death to Marlena Evans, because of course she goes to Marlena. Marlena is the Rock of Salem. She is the one everyone goes to when their world is falling apart. But this is going to be a massive burden for Marlena, because Marlena has a very busy week ahead of her anyway. She is dealing with so many patients and so much family drama. But then Lexie walks into her office, and Lexie drops the ultimate bombshell. The miracle drug is a fake doctor. Wilhelm Rolf's magical concoction is nothing but a temporary fix. And we saw this coming. We knew the lab rats died. We knew the Versavix serum had lethal side effects. But hearing Lexie actually say it out loud is going to be gut-wrenching. She is sitting there on Marlena's couch, telling her that the headaches are back, the neurological symptoms are getting worse, and she knows her time is up. She is on borrowed time, a walking ghost, because EJ DiMera wanted to play God. And EJ's grand medical experiment is a total catastrophic failure. So Marlena does what Marlena always does. She tries to be the voice of reason. She urges Lexie to tell the truth, to go home and tell Abe Carver and Theo Carver what is really going on, because they deserve to know, and they need to be there to support her. But Lexie refuses. She flat out says no. And this is where the psychology of this whole storyline just gets incredibly dark and sad, because Lexie wants to cling to the illusion. She wants the fantasy of a happy ending for as long as humanly possible. Think about the history here. Abe has been through hell. He lost Lexie in 2012 to a brain tumor, a tumor caused by the toxic gases in the DiMera tunnels. He grieved her for over a decade. He finally moved on. He found Paulina Price. He built a new life. And then, boom, Lexie is resurrected. Abe drops everything to welcome her back. He puts his whole life on hold. And Theo, poor Theo, he has autism. He needs stability more than anyone. He just took the COO job at DiMera Enterprises just to make his mom proud. And now Lexie is supposed to look them in the eye and say it was all a cruel joke, that she is going back to the grave. She just can't do it. But hiding it is so dangerous, because the fallout is going to be nuclear. If Abe finds out that Lexie knew she was dying and kept him in the dark, it will destroy him. Abe values honesty above everything. He is a man of integrity, but Lexie is just so desperate. She wants to see Abe smile just a little bit longer. She wants to watch Theo thrive without the shadow of grief hanging over him. So she forces Marlena to keep the secret, and Marlena has to comply because of doctor-patient confidentiality. But it is going to tear Marlena apart inside. But Lexie doesn't stop there. And this is where the story takes a wild, aggressive turn. Lexie leaves Marlena's office, and she goes straight to Kristen DiMera. Yes, Kristen, her sister, and Lexie delivers some absolutely shocking news to Kristen. She tells Kristen the truth about the failing experiment. She exposes EJ's massive failure. And you have to look at the sibling dynamic here to understand why this is so huge. EJ has been strutting around Salem for months, acting like he is the new Stefano, acting like he holds the power of life and death in his hands. He brought Lexie back and used it to justify all his ruthless corporate moves. He used it to manipulate everyone. But Lexie tells Kristen that it is all a sham. The drug is a dud. EJ is a fraud. And Lexie is on her way to an early grave once again. So why tell Kristen? Because Lexie knows exactly what is going on in that mansion. She knows Kristen is at war with EJ. EJ has been threatening Kristen. EJ is planning to kidnap Kristen. The hatred between EJ and Kristen is at an all-time high right now because of the whole Johnny apartment fire situation. So Lexie handing this information to Kristen is basically handing her a loaded weapon. Lexie is giving Kristen the ultimate ammunition to take EJ down. But it is also going to be a deeply emotional moment because Kristen actually loves Lexie. In her own twisted, toxic DiMera way, Kristen cares about her sister. They just had some really nice bonding moments recently. And now Kristen has to look at Lexie and realize she is losing her again. It is going to be this crazy mix of grief and vengeance. Kristen is going to be heartbroken that Lexie is dying, but she is also going to be absolutely furious at EJ for doing this to her, for playing God and messing with her sister's soul. And you just know Kristen is going to weaponize this secret. She is not going to keep it quiet like Marlena. Kristen is going to use this to destroy EJ's reputation, to prove to the world that EJ is not a genius. He is just a desperate man who pushed a lethal drug on his own sister just to feed his ego. Just a total mess. A tragic, unavoidable mess. Because no matter what Kristen does to EJ, it doesn't change the facts. Lexie is fading. Her body is rejecting the Versavix serum. And every day she spends smiling with Abe and Theo is a lie. A beautiful, desperate lie. And it just makes us sick to think about the moment Abe finally realizes what is happening. We already know Abe is going to snap. We know he is going to physically kick EJ out of the hospital room later this summer. But right now, during the week of July 13 to 17, it is all about the quiet heartbreak. Lexie carrying this massive death sentence. Marlena burdened with the ethical nightmare of keeping it a secret. And Kristen plotting her revenge while mourning a sister who is still standing right in front of her. The writers are really leaning into the dark, gothic tragedy of the DiMera family with this one. Because no one in that family ever gets a real happy ending. It is always just an illusion, a temporary fix, until the science fails and the truth comes out. So we are just bracing ourselves for the tears, because Nikki Crawford is going to act her heart out in these scenes with Deidre Hall and Stacey Hyduck. It is going to be raw. It is going to be clunky and messy and filled with so much unresolved trauma. But that is why we watch, to see these characters pushed to their absolute breaking points. And Lexie Carver is definitely at hers. She is staring death in the face for the second time. And she is choosing to protect her husband and son from the truth, even if it means dying with a massive secret.